Hi, guys. Hello, hello. Welcome back. All right, let's jump in and we will see what is the message for the 26th. Now, usually I put these out a little further in advance. I'm still getting us back on track. I'm getting us caught up a little bit. So, this is for the 26th, although normally I would post the 27th already. So, stay tuned for that. It'll come out tomorrow in the daytime. All right, for the message of the 26th, the energy says Four of Swords, Queen of Swords. So a lot of sword energy is a lot of thoughts. We do have healing energy. We do possibly have a divine feminine wearing amazing boots, who could be thinking heavily about a divine masculine. I almost feel like all this is just in the thought realm. I don't think that this is, even though we see her like holding his head in her lap, I think that there's a feminine focused on a masculine um, on the 26th. I don't know that I think he's really present. Ace of Swords, she's thinking about somebody that she cut out of her life. Okay. So it was on her terms. She cut somebody out of her life that she actually still thinks a great deal about, somebody that she still even loves. She's all in pink there. But she did have to, it was like turning her into stone. Dealing with them was really not working for her at all. We have a Seven of Cups. She's just wondering, how are they? Where are they? Are they well? We have kind of like a physician or a scientist here, in almost like in a laboratory setting. She wonders if they're well. She still thinks of them, and remembers the love that they shared. She's got old memories here. This is almost like one of the viewfinders, and it's almost like in her memory there could be a song that she hears that reminds her of them as well. Why are you thinking about him so much? Ace of Cups. Because in this case, there's still love. She loved this person, and that doesn't just disappear. We do see the eyeball here. She may have green eyes, or maybe they had green eyes. But there's some kind of like a flood of emotions. She could actually cry a little bit on the 26th because she might be drinking something and then crying afterwards. Maybe that's like, just watch alcohol consumption, because sometimes that's when we get lost in old emotions. We have a Six of Wands, and this is a very sensual Six of Wands. She may be feeling like she's in love with somebody when maybe it could be more about lust. Normally a Queen of Swords, is very, has great self-control, but everyone can get lost in their memories, lost in their emotions. Obviously, this is somebody she loved quite a bit, and somebody that she had a lot of, romantic feelings for. She could also be reminiscing because she's remembering a time when, she felt really empowered. The thing is, she's a Queen of Swords even now, so she's still very, very empowered. But it does look like this is kind of a tough moment or a tough day for her to be thinking back to this person of the past. Universe, do you want to weigh in on this for her? We have the Star and we have the Seven of Pentacles. The universe is like, oh, hang on. How about, instead of reminiscing about the past, how about think about how much has changed in your life since you dealt with them, and think about where you are today. Think of how many of your goals you've achieved. Think of how far you've come. You notice that there's a feminine alone on both of these cards, but the universe is trying to shift her perception of thinking back at the past, and instead thinking about how far away she is from the past and how much she's healed, how much she's done, how many goals she's met, how much she's grown. I think that's a beautiful message on that. Can we see, universe, is he thinking about her today? Is there any crossover? King of Pentacles, Knight of Wands. He might be on the verge of reaching out to her, or he's thinking lusty thoughts about her. I mean, she definitely has some lusty thoughts about him. He may be thinking the same thing about her, but he's in a, like a very stable place in his life now. But hang on, King of Pentacles, what's going on with you? Four of Swords. There's some kind of healing energy. Okay. There's a healing energy that he's gone through as well. What's the deal with that Knight of Wands? High Priestess. So they are linked at the mind. He feels her energy. She feels his. So we could have an earth person and an air person in this storyline, right? You know, she could be Libra, Gemini, Aquarius. He could be Virgo, Capricorn, or Taurus. Doesn't have to be. This could be same-sex couples, reverse gender roles, doesn't matter. But he's definitely picking up actually on her. Like, interestingly enough, he's picking up on her passion right now. The fact that she's thinking about him in like a more sensual way. But I'm guessing it's because he shares that same energy toward her right now. Um, if you're in this energy of being grounded, what does that mean? 7 of Wands in the reverse. I don't know if he had obstacles in the past, but he doesn't have any now. He's free of obstacles. So let me just ask, do you have any kind of intentions toward her? Are you just out there living your best life? You still feel, energetically connected to her? No, he's spying all day on her. Okay. 6 of Pentacles in the reverse, and he's lying through his little teeth about it. He's not reaching out. He's just spying. Universe, let's change decks. Sorry, I should have already changed. Universe, you want to weigh in on that topic. If he's over here sitting there spying on her, then she's over there thinking about him. It's like the two of them keep turning on the like the airflow between them, and they're like in hermetically sealed capsules, only they have this, aside from it being hermetically sealed, they have this one little tube between the two of them that they can actually still breathe through and share air. It just feels like if you're separated and you're not interacting, why do they still have to have that one way that they can connect, which is the meeting of the minds? Otherwise they're totally sealed off from each other. It's just kind of crazy. The universe says, well, with this Chariot card, this is what happens before action happens. Okay, so universe says they're both thinking about each other. Time has passed. They both seem to be better, right? She's a queen who the universe also says, pay attention to the fact that you're also a star. You've done very well for yourself. You're doing very well. Meanwhile, he's a king of pentacles. He's also healed. So they're both thinking about each other, but they're in better energies. But he's not doing anything yet, and she's not doing anything. But we certainly have the universe saying, well, thoughts have to occur before a plan is made, before, okay, think of it this way. Our brain has to tell our muscles to move. That's where they're at. Their brains are working on a thought process before their body is going to comply with whatever their brain is coming up with this plan of. We're just catching the story at the moment before there's action. Now it appears that whoever is in the masculine energy is going to be the one making action happen. Now, what does that mean? Is he walking away from this and saying, well, I spied on her, I wish her well, I've healed from this, I'm moving on, I just wanted to peer into her life, but now I'm walking away? Where's the Emperor going to wind up going? Queen of Wands, that doesn't look like he's going toward her. That looks like he's going toward somebody else altogether different. Unless he's like, remember, we had a lot of lusty energy in this. We saw him looking at her as the Knight of Wands. We saw her with the 6 of Wands. So I don't know that I would say that this is a different person. And we all know that, passion is a powerful motivator for humans, right? Ace of Pentacles and the World card, but all this says he's motivated to start new chapters, new cycles, brand new. Does that represent him ready to go meet somebody new then, or start a new cycle with her? The moon is about what's hidden. It's about the subconscious. Look, I wish that I could say that this was a story where these two, have parted ways. They both become better versions of themselves. They have fondly thought back to each other. They have, she's energetically thinking of them. They're spying on her, but then it's like, okay, let's let each other go. That was the end of our journey together, and they're going to go off in different directions and have happily ever afters with other people. But that's not what this story is. In this story, the subconscious comes too much into play. His new beginning is the new beginning he was always going to have with her. The person he will always think is the sexiest of them all. He doesn't see her as the Queen of Swords who cut him out of her life. He sees her as the person who he lusts after, who perhaps still lusts after him, the person he's still connected to, the person who he's got to have a new beginning with, because he's always needed to have a new beginning with this person. It's always been in the subconscious that this day was going to come, that at some point, I don't know, the universe, did either one of them know that this was the way it was going to go, that time would pass, they'd be apart, they'd both grow, and then it was going to come back around? Well, we have the Empress. So yes, they have somewhere in like their DNA, they have been a power couple all this time that met before they were ready to be in their best power. Somehow, some way, these two were always a divine counterpart, but man, they were not able to be successful back then. I gotta say, they are a matched pair, but the universe is like, I don't really want you guys to get together when you're not truly ready for it. You can try it, but it won't work. Then you'll separate and you have to go grow. And then when you're your best selves, that's when the two of you will start to think about each other again. That's when the two of you will reminisce. And that's when something that has been, it's almost like the coordinates have been, like locked inside of him all this time. And one day those coordinates of like, it's time for me to go to her, were going to be like clicked on, awakened, and he was going to go toward her. It was always like destined to go this way. Now, I always think characters make their own destiny. I don't like to take that away from our characters, but they had the makings of being emperors and empresses back in the day, but they weren't those people yet. They had to get there. They had to become those things. Universe, can we go back over and say, what was the situation with her saying, I loved him a lot, but I had to cut him out of my life? Can we get one card on that, universe? Five of Pentacles. Look, when she did that, he was devastated. Absolutely devastated. But if he was not putting his all into something, then of course it wasn't going to work. Maybe he was heartbroken or in a place of loss when she first met him, and he wasn't giving anything because he was lost in his own funk at that point in time. But we have the Six of Cups. Look, I honestly think that, and this might sound cruel or harsh, but when she met him, he wasn't in a great space. But then he also wasn't able to give to her. He may have gone through losses. He might have been, struggling. He might have had, it almost feels like his brain, he was always thinking about his problems and not really paying attention to, maybe the guides are like, hey, you know what? You just met your soulmate here together. This is something to celebrate. Be happy, like engage with her, start giving to her, and some of your problems will alleviate. But I don't think he could, which is why she got fed up. And even though he might have already been at a disadvantage or even dealing with his time of woe at the time that she met him, if he was going to stay in that funk instead of like letting this, the good fortune of having met her lift him out of it, I think that's why the universe was like, nope, it's not going to work if he stays in the funk. She had to cut him out of her life, even if he was already at a low point, because he was sitting in the low point, not budging. And I know that sounds really harsh. I'm sorry, but that's what I get off of these cards, because he met a soulmate, but he wasn't going to do anything about it, is what it says. He wasn't really going to participate in the soulmate relationship that he could have, and that's why she had to cut him out. Universe, give a message for him. Two of Pentacles. Yeah, he was kind of indecisive back in the past. He was too busy thinking about other things. He wasn't paying enough attention to her, wasn't giving her the attention that you would give to a soulmate, to a really important person, because he was always still giving to some other past situation. The Fool, I don't know, did he take a leap, to go through this portal, or did he take a leap to go back toward an ex? I don't really think so. He's let me put it this way, he's in a great energy now. He's very whole at this point. Nine of Swords. I don't know. He could have slipped backwards. He might have gone back to an ex. He met her, but he was still just locked in the mindset of an ex. The ex themselves could have had all kinds of woes and problems. And this looks like a foolish move, or the foolish move was that he basically moved away from his empress, his soulmate, and made his own life way worse. I don't really see him going back to an ex. I don't even know what his sorrow was about, but he was very indecisive about wanting to be with a soulmate. And I think he made a really foolish decision to intentionally move away from that soulmate that was his empress. And that actually, he chose creating greater distress in his life. But maybe that's what had to happen. You know, we saw he had to go off and heal. And we saw she had some healing to do. She's become really amazing, really powerful. I think that these two are in better places in their lives now. She's had a ton of success. She's a star. She's an empress. He is an emperor taking action toward her and found his footing in life and became that king of pentacles. He has a lot to offer now, whereas before he was very indecisive about giving to her. And I think he just wanted to sit in his sorrow for a period of time, and he had to go through that. Can I get one more message on that? The choice that he made to go sit in sorrow instead of choosing to be with a soulmate. That was, he almost had to like drive himself down to rock bottom before he was going to find his power. He couldn't have found his power if he had, well, I shouldn't say couldn't have found his power if he had, you know, matched with her at that point and chosen to like really participate. Maybe he could have, but that's not what he did. This was a personal journey for him, and he definitely drove himself down to the bottom of the barrel. He had all kinds of, you know, unhappiness, and he compounded it by pushing her away and intentionally walking away from her or avoiding her, at least emotionally. But it was her who cut him off completely. So I'm thinking it was like she cut him off because he wasn't present, but he was already pushing her away anyhow. All of this looks like it was painful, but it was really just he needed to go get his own footing, get his manifestation back, find his ability to be empowered. And honestly, he may have only just now started to rise as a magician, as an emperor, as a king of pentacles last year. They could have been apart for a long time. My impression is that they were. Like this played out a long time ago. And he just now in the last year has found his whole life has turned around. He's feeling very empowered. He's feeling very, you know, magical. He's feeling very strong now. It took a long time to get there, but he's finally there. So is this the day that they actually connect? Hi, baby. I wondered when you were going to wake up. 9 of Pentacles. I would say that somewhere in the next 9 hours to 9 days, these two will connect. Hi, my love. All right, you guys, I'm going to pull one card for a person whose birthday would be on the 26th, and then I'm going to disappear because, as you can tell, my Aries is here. Message for someone whose birthday is the 26th is that there is the Ace of Air or Ace of Swords, which is all about truth and clarity. We have the Enigma, we have the Sphinx on either side, and we got 2 of them. So a character has to make a choice between 2 different, like, amazing pathways, magical, mystical pathways. Their life could turn into almost anything. There really is no obstacle, but they are going to have to decide which path they would prefer. Let me get one more on this. This could be something to do with the Libra, Gemini, Aquarius. 5 of Pentacles. This could have to do more with realizing that whichever path our character wants to take, something is dried up in their life and it's time for change. If one path is closing, then it's actually a blessing in disguise, because they're going to realize, I don't think this works for me anymore. I think I should go that way or that way. I have 2 different options open to me, and either one will be better than something else that's dried up. This is it's actually really exciting because there's a lot of adventure up ahead for our character. The only thing they have to choose is to let go of something where there's obviously no satisfaction. There's obviously no like warmth or wealth. There's no flow of like abundance anymore. And as long as they can let go of that, this just says it's time for change. But what's beautiful is letting go of something where there's not abundance, even though it seems scary to go into the unknown. The truth of it is that's where their progress is. That's where their options are. That's where their excitement is. That's where their next adventures lie, is in choosing that next step. So very exciting. It does look like more like life choices. This could be about like do I move back to where my family lives? Do I do that? Do I not? Yeah, maybe I'm coming. But it's up to our character. Take care. Thank you so much. Bye, guys. I'm coming.